In this video, you will learn about the Stoic practice of Memento Mori and how it can help us not to waste our life, but to live it to the fullest. There is nothing more certain in life than the certainty of death. Death makes no difference whether a person is rich or poor, healthy or unhealthy, good or bad, wise or ignorant. Every living being that is born must also experience death. It is up to each of us who wants to improve to pay attention to death and mortality. Does that seem a bit dark and depressing? For us modern people, it sounds like a scary idea. In our culture, people don't actively think about such things. Who wants to think about that voluntarily? But what if we are not afraid and are ready to accept this truth? What if thinking about this fact would be a simple key to enjoying life to the fullest? Thinking about our mortality is only depressing if we have the wrong view about it. It is in fact a tool to create priority and meaning as well as perspective and urgency in our lives. It helps us to treat our time as a gift and as something quite precious and not to waste it on banalities. When we remember that everything could be over soon or in the distant future and that we have only a limited amount of time, that turns our lives into something quite precious. This view can make us very enlivened and humble and helps us to live our lives to the fullest without wasting a second of it. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. The practice of Memento Mori reminds us that we are mortal and that tomorrow everything could be over. Thinking about death should not cause fear, but rather gratitude and appreciation for the life we have been given. This practice has a very long history, crossing cultures, continents, religions, and philosophies. In Stoicism, the reflection on mortality plays an important role. The Stoics, like most ancient philosophers, believed that it was important to reflect often on the prospect of one's own death and to question the fear of dying that most people have. The Stoics developed a variety of strategies because they considered this to be the most important fear to overcome. Epictetus taught his students that they should reflect on the Stoic paradox that the source of all human evil and meanness and cowardice is not death itself, but the fear of death. Seneca suggests that we should respond to those who are afraid of death by saying, "So you are alive now?" Ironically, we cannot truly live if we are surrounded by fear, especially the fear of death itself. The extant writings of the ancient Stoics are full of reminders to remember death. Epictetus said, "Day by day you must keep before your eyes death and exile and everything else that seems frightening, but most especially death, and then you will never harbor any mean thought, nor will you desire anything beyond your measure." Marcus wrote, "All that you see will soon have vanished, and those who see it vanish will vanish themselves, and the ones who reached old age have no advantage over the untimely death." Seneca said, "I am endeavoring to live every day as if it were a complete life. I do not indeed snatch it up as if it were my last. I do regard it, however, as if it might even be my last. The present letter is written to you with this in mind, as if death were about to call me away in the very act of writing. I am ready to depart, and I shall enjoy life just because I'm not over anxious as to the future date of my departure. The ancient Romans also practiced the contemplation of death. It was a Roman tradition in which a general, upon returning to Rome after a significant victory, would participate in a victory march through the city. To be the subject of such a march was a great honor and the desire of many ambitious soldiers. As the triumphant general was carried through the city in his horse-drawn chariot, to the great applause and praise of the Roman people, a slave stood behind him and whispered, "Remember that you are mortal. Remember that you must die." The purpose of the slave whispering in his ear was to keep the general's ego and perspective in check throughout the celebration so that the glory would not overwhelm him. Death is natural and inevitable, and so we should not consider it unexpected when the day comes. With the right attitude and view, meditating on mortality can help us awaken our true potential and face life with gratitude and humility. It can also serve as a catalyst for motivation and productivity, helping us to recognize an urgency in important matters and thus prompting us to action. Putting things off over and over again is a challenge that most of us struggle with on a daily basis. In his book On the Shortness of Life, Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and a sufficiently generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements, if it were all well invested." Seneca knew that we often waste our lives clinging to comforts that only distract us from realizing our highest potential and working for the good of others. Why should we waste our time on trivialities and irrelevancies when our time is limited? However, by learning to adapt a philosophical attitude towards our own death, our way of acting can be fundamentally changed, making this both a psychological and ethical training exercise. Memento Mori can be very helpful to us in many life situations, be it improving our relationship with other people or a better handling on our bad habits. We will perceive minor arguments or disagreements with family members or friends differently and be ready to reconcile more quickly. With the practice of Memento Mori, we will be able to solve our problems in the here and now, that is, in the present moment, which in turn will determine who we will be in the future. It allows us not to waste the present moment and later, on our deathbed, not to feel the crushing sense of regret for having wasted our lives. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Not to live as if you had endless years ahead of you. That overshadows you. While you are alive and able, be good." Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel, and more importantly, share the video with someone who can benefit from this content. Thank you and stay inspired.